joining us? Get ready for the NBA here on 2K Sports. Friday Hoops Fest coming up next. It's the Atlanta Hawks going up against the Sacramento Kings. Now our broadcast swings to Sacramento, where Kevin Harlan, Clark Kellogg, and Steve Kerr have the call.
And the players exchanging a few friendly words prior to tip-off, the getting-to-know-you stage of the proceedings. Get ready, everyone, for Tuesday afternoon NBA action on 2K Sports. This is Kevin Harlan here with Steve Kerr and Clark Kellogg. Doris Burke will join us moments from now from courtside. A quick check now at the starting lineups for both teams. First for Atlanta, Jeff Teague and Lou Williams, the backcourt. And holding down the middle, a tremendously hard-working and versatile big man out of the Dominican Republic, Al Horford. Then there's Kyle Korver, and it's Millsap in at the 4. And for Sacramento, the guards, Vasquez and McLemore, and the big fella inside out of the University of Kentucky, the unbelievably gifted and powerful pivot man, DeMarcus Cousins. Then it's Mbamute, and it's Thompson in at the 4 spot.
Hawks were pretty solid against the Western Conference, splitting the 30 games they played 15-15. And if you do that against the West, when you're an Eastern Conference team, usually you're going to make the playoffs, and the Hawks did as a 6th seed.
And for the Hawks against the West, as Clark, you were talking about earlier, 15-15. It might sound ho-hum, but Steve was actually the 4th best record against the West of all teams in the East.
Well, look, the West, we know the more dominant conference. I think 15-15 is a pretty solid record for Atlanta. So they had a good showing last year against the West. Really good offensive execution. Nice pick, just couldn't get the shot to go.
Boy, you love to see that as a basketball purist. Guy setting a good screen and then getting the shot opportunity.
Teague, the pass to Korver. And now Williams inside. Good on the shot.
Well, the drive to the bucket was nice, but how about the finger roll finish? Beautiful.
And it's Sacramento's ball. Let's find out what Doris Burke has for us.
A bit ago, Mike Malone and I were able to chat. He talked about the impact that Al Horford can have on a game and how they'll have their work cut out for them dealing with him. He said Horford's just a complete ball player. He does all the things you want from a big man. He can shoot, handle, and pass. He's always a tough matchup, but it starts with matching his energy level. Kevin, we'll see if they have what it takes.
And thank you, Doris. There's Williams with the 3. Again, the miss by Williams.
A lot of high hopes for what Lou Williams could do with a new team last year. It really started off quickly with Atlanta, had some good games, but eventually the season went down the drain with that knee injury in January.
And for Williams' quickness, a big part of his game. We'll see how the knee affects his game, Clark.
You know, it normally takes a year or so to get back to playing, 2 years to get back to 100%, but he's signed to a very cap-friendly contract, so Atlanta may be able to weather his loss until he's back to his old self.
That free throw good from McLemore.
You take a look at the offense for the Kings last season, there are some things to build on here, guys. 4th in the NBA in fast break points, top 4 in points in the paint. Those are good numbers to build your offensive foundation around.
And so he makes both from the line. But for the Kings, I think Coach Mike Malone will try to get them to play a little more unselfishly, Steve, especially at the offensive end.
Yeah, they had a team last year that just seemed to be jacking up shots anytime they could get one up individually. They were among the lowest in the league in assists as a team. A lot of isolation basketball. It was not pretty to watch.
A finish.
Oh! Up high and down hard. That's good.
Yeah, that's how you use it, brother.
Rattle that rim, young man. Rattle that rim.
He did it all right. The rim, the backboard, the stanchion, all of it.
I hope he's okay.
Williams kicks to Korver. Feeds it to Horford. The Hawks working the ball around. And once again off the mark by Atlanta.
That's now 4 misses on their first 5 attempts. Still trying to find a rhythm and flow here offensively.
And McLemore kicks to Mbamute. The dish to Thompson. Good work defensively by Millsap. For Atlanta, they've gotten only 1 of 6 shots to drop for them to start this game. Williams passes to Teague. No good on the triple. Hawks on D. Trailing by 2. Here's McLemore. Count that one. McLemore's got 6.
Well, Mike Budenholzer, the new coach of the Hawks, spent 19 years with the San Antonio Spurs, including 17 as an assistant. Well, you couldn't ask for a better teaching ground than that.
Nice job coming off that screen.
Al Horford impeding the defense there with the solid screen.
Kings have gone 2 of 3 here to start out the game. Vasquez dishes to Thompson. Pass to Vasquez. Horford with the block. Here is Korver. And there's the pass to Williams. Takes it to Korver. Back to Williams. He passes it to Korver. 6 on the shot clock. And that misses. That would have put him up. And back to Budenholzer, who was with the Spurs for 19 years. Steve, the Spurs, the winningest team in pro sports over the last 15 years.
Yeah, I'm glad that Budenholzer has finally gotten his chance. I played for him for 4 seasons. He's a guy who loves the game. He's very dedicated, hardworking, and has learned from probably the best coach in the NBA during his time in San Antonio.
And Atlanta will go for a different look here. Chuck Hayes, he's checked in for Cousins. Landry comes in for Jason Thompson. Marcus Thornton, he's checked in for McLemore. And it's Isaiah Thomas in for Vasquez.
The Hawks last season weren't really a bad offensive team, but they did have one of the more memorable offensive nights, and not for anything positive. In the January game against the tough Bulls team, the Hawks only scored 58 points over the course of the entire game.
The Hawks trail by 4. Clark, some tough offensive sets. They want to turn it around.
Yeah, they need a basket just to regain some momentum here, Kevin.
Schroeder kicks to Horford. So he gets the whistle. Contact on the way up and 2 shots coming up. As you said, the Hawks had one of the worst offensive nights, Clark, in the NBA. But overall, we're a solid offensive team right around the middle of the league. Steve, just goes to show what can happen when a team goes cold.
Yeah, when you don't have that one guy who you can always lean on to score. I mean, there are going to be some nights where everything just misses. And I think that was the case that game against Chicago. It was kind of bizarre, but hey, over the course of 82 games, it's going to happen.
A lot was made about the Kings in their home last year, but it wasn't about how well are they playing at home. It was about where is their home going to be next season. The Kings are staying in Sacramento, but they played like it might be their last hurrah.
So he makes 1 of 2 as the second one misses. And you go back to the Kings at home last year, 20-21 record, and it was easy to see just how much tougher a team they were in this building. Steve, they really looked like a team that could compete with anyone at any time.
Well, this community really rallied behind the franchise, and there was a lot of worry that maybe this was the farewell tour for the Kings fans and the players. And they played their hearts out last year. You got to give them a lot of credit for really fighting, particularly down the stretch when things looked grim.
Here's Schroeder. Carroll kicks to Schroeder. Baseline jumper. Shot is no good. Great D that time from Thomas. Now 8 seconds separating the 2 clocks. Landry, smooth as silk on the finger roll.
Another nice bucket down low. They've really been able to work the ball into the post effectively so far.
Yeah, I think that could really set things up well the rest of the game. Pound the ball inside and let your perimeter players play off your bigs.
Here's Carroll, and he connects on the jumper. The screen did the trick.
Very well executed pick to give him all kinds of space to get that one off.
Here's Thomas. It's a 3-point game. Thornton with it. Up in time, and that's not going to go. 1 quarter in the books, and it's been a close one so far. Kings ahead, up 3. And off we go, a close game now starting the second quarter. And let's quickly break down the game we've been watching for the Kings, guys.
And the difference to this point has been defense. This club has really gotten after it, and that's what's gotten them this lead.
Well, there's nothing that's gone up that hasn't been contested so far.
Kings leading now by 3. He kicks to Hayes. And count the basket. He was fouled, and he's going to the line for one more.
Outstanding job there to absorb the contact and guide it in.
That's how you impose your will against the defender. He came to play.
Yeah, they like to get him the ball down on the low post, Kevin, not just for his ability to score, but to also distribute to his teammates when the defense collapses.
And Steve, you look at him, he is a banger. I mean, he really enjoys the physical aspect of the game. You know, last season the Hawks were a solid team on the road. Nothing spectacular. Really what you'd expect from a 3 seed in the East. Ended the year with a 19-22 road record. Not bad.
And keeping us updated from the sideline, let's swing it over to Doris Burke for an update. Hi, Doris.
Gentlemen, Ben McLemore grew up in poverty in the tough town of Wellston, Missouri, near St. Louis. A tiny house with up to 15 people under one roof. At times, no food, no heat. A single mother working nights to provide. And before his senior year, his high school shuttered for good. Basketball was his one escape. He said, quote, "If you say you're from Wellston, they give you that look. It's just the reputation. It's a hard place to live and grow." But he says even now that he's made it out, I'm never going to forget Wellston. I was born and raised there. It's my heart and my pride. I'm going to give back. I want to build it back to how it was. Guys, what an extraordinary story.
An amazing story. And Doris, good thing it had a happy ending. Thank you. Well, Clark, you said it about the Hawks last year, 19-22 on the road. You really need to hover around 500 on the road, don't you think, Steve, to position yourself for the playoffs?
No question. As long as you can control your home court and get a good record there, then 500 on the road is just fine. But this is a Hawks team that's looking to take the next step, Kevin, to really become elite. They've been kind of stuck in the middle for a while now.
And it's good. Hayes has got his third basket of the night right there.
Boy, nice bucket. They were really playing intelligently here.
And even though the lead's not large, they've definitely got the upper hand.
Here's Carroll. Here's the 3, and the shot is good. Carroll's got his second bucket of the night.
You might not think of him as a laser three-point shooter, but that shot was there for him, and he had to take it.
So the Kings call timeout. They're first.
And, you know, for the Kings, with the new ownership group, a new coach, a new front office, and a new downtown arena on the horizon, it's exciting times for the Kings fans and a lot of newfound optimism around this team, too.
Sacramento making a switch here. Cousins is checked in. Two minutes now played in the second quarter. Kings leading now by 4. And the Kings, a team that experienced a period of great success in the 90s, back the late 90s and early this century. But they had undergone a 7-year playoff drought, and Steve, times had gotten pretty dire.
Well, there's a lot of change in the air in Sacramento this season with new ownership, new management, new coaching, and some young talent with Ben McLemore. So I think there's hope going forward for the Sacramento Kings.
And that one misses.
You know, with the troubles he's had butting heads with coaches and others, you might wonder why the team keeps putting up with Cousins' antics. Well, I'll tell you why. The greater your talent, the longer your rope, because this kid does have talent.
And the Hawks making a change here. Millsap's checked in. He's off on the second. And Clark, you mentioned Cousins' problems There were some rumblings last season that the Kings might look to trade him, Steve, and I think there would be some teams that would say, you know what, this is a quality guy that maybe needs a new environment.
I think teams would be very interested in him. The question is, how much would they be willing to give up? Because it is a bit of a risk, not knowing exactly what you're getting. But Cousins, an intriguing talent. There's no doubt about that.
Here's Carroll. Salmon's covering. The shot is off. Excellent D there. Kings leading now by 4. Thomas passes Delaney. Knocked loose. About 3 minutes played so far in the second quarter. And a chance here to catch up with the fourth member of our crew, Doris Burke. Hi, Doris.
Hi, gentlemen. For the Sacramento Kings, a lot of rookies, and not just among the players. A new first-time majority owner, a new rookie GM, and Mike Malone, a first-time head coach. New blood taking over. But for all three, extensive experience in assisting roles, whether assistant coach, assistant GM, or minority ownership. So guys, despite being new to the lead role, none of them lack for experience.
Thanks, Doris. We'll see how they do.
Nice work to get inside and draw the foul.
Yeah, it's obvious. The defense not going to allow many easy layups. It's going to make you earn it from the line.
The Kings shooting their 7th and 8th free throw attempts for the game right here.
Well, they were a fairly decent free throw shooting team a year ago, Kevin, about 77% from the line.
Free throw dropped for Thornton.
A season to forget for the Sacramento Kings a year ago. There were times they looked pretty good, but more times than not, they couldn't sustain high-level play. Still managed to do fairly well against Eastern Conference teams when they saw them.
Looking at who's out there now for the Hawks. Al Horford is checked in for Brand. Corver comes in for Damari Carroll. And Lewis Williams subbed in for John Jenkins. And Thornton drops 2. And back to what you were saying, Clark, about the Kings. Very good when playing out of conference, at least relative to their overall play, Steve.
Well, 14-16 against the East. I mean, that's not a bad record. I'm not sure if it says something about the Kings or something about the East. Probably the latter, but not bad for Sacramento to have that record.
Here's Thompson after the made shot from Corver. Here's Cousins. Al Horford with the rebound. Horford's got his 5th rebound right now in the game. It's Williams with the drive. That evens the score.
Exceptional play to take the bump and still get it up and down.
Yeah, way to stay with it and look to finish the play right there.
And Bahamute's checked in for Marcus Thornton.
You know, I don't get caught up in whether Horford is a power forward or center. All I know is he can ball, and his skill set allows him to be productive and consistent.
And Horford, a great combination of skill, Steve, and toughness.
Kevin, he's one of my favorite players in the league. Just such a high skill level, but tough. He rebounds, he defends well. He can guard either the power forward or center position, and a winner. Remember, he won 2 NCAA championships at Florida.
The Hawks made the playoffs again, but ended up losing in the first round to the Pacers in 6 games. Dropped the first 2 in Indiana, won the next 2 in Atlanta, but it all ended when the Pacers got them in Game 6.
And the first one at the line is good. Well, and for the Hawks, it's been 6 consecutive seasons with basically this group. Certainly Joe Johnson left as a free agent to Brooklyn. But, Steve, they have yet to get past the second round in any of those playoff runs.
I think that's why they decided to part ways with Josh Smith and originally with Joe Johnson 2 seasons ago, just to make that next step, to start fresh. And they may take a dip here, but I think the future does look bright. Well, Millsap, a great signing with the Hawks. 2-year deal, $19 million. You like the skill level, a guy who battles inside, and even when he's at a size disadvantage, he still seems to really prosper.
Here's Hayes, and nothing is falling for him right now. The Hawks leading by 3. Williams with the ball, now defended by McLemore. Outside Teague. Williams kicks to Teague. Hawks passing it around. Millsap makes it off the glass. Millsap's got 4 points in the quarter.
They're working in closer to the bucket here in the second.
Yeah, Clark, the threes really weren't falling early, and sometimes seeing a few easy ones go down can get your offense back into a groove.
1 second left. And a tight game here as we end the first half. Hawks lead by 5. And it's time now for the Sprint Halftime Show with Damon Bruce. We'll be back shortly to get the second half underway.
Now, presented by Sprint.
Damon Bruce here with you for the Halftime Show. For the Atlanta Hawks, they have the lead against Sacramento. Defensive pressure so far paying off. They're forcing miscues, ripping and running. Getting it done early, Paul Millsap. He's picked up 4 points, and he's applying defensive pressure, adding some steals as well. And doing their best to stay alive, the Sacramento Kings. High speed, high energy. Every time they get the ball, they're off and running. They've gotten some great minutes out of Chuck Hayes. He's got 6 points and not much to complain about with his shot selection either. A nice field goal percentage in the first half. And that's it for us here in the studio. Time to send it on back out to Kevin Harlan and the gang for the start of the second half.
The Sprint Halftime Report, presented by Sprint.